Hey guys, Nick here. Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the next Dragon Ball story on the channel. 2 parts. What if the Tuffles killed the Saiyans? Before we get started, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and check out the About tab and homepage so you don't miss anything for the Omniverse's future. With all that said, let's begin. So we open up with this being kind of at first a story, but now I say it's probably one of the best, even though it's 2 parts. And like Bardock's Super Saiyan, that's a rarity for Dragon Ball stories, that I literally do something so small. But you'll understand why. So, for those not aware, the Tuffles were a scientific genetic race, and no matter how much they had or how smart they were or how good their weapons were, when the Saiyans attacked their planet, everything was destroyed. And Planet Plant eventually became Planet Vegeta. But this wouldn't stop future Tuffles from making appearances, like Dr. Raichi, the Parpar brothers, Dr. Mew, Baby, General Rildo, Hachiak, variants that look like Tuffles from other universes, including Super Dragon Ball Heroes having Orin and Kameen, and so on and so on. The main 2 strongest that you want to pay attention to, especially as to the main reason why this is 2 parts, is Baby and Hachiak. But we would see so much more for the Saiyans. A lot more. But this wouldn't stop the Tuffles from trying to make their mark. But they never did. What if that was changed? What if we just took out the Saiyans? Literally every Saiyan. And if the Tuffles actually managed to beat them, what would happen? And how would Universe 7 operate without its literally main core race? Especially no Goku. Let's get into it. So we open up with King Vegeta and the Saiyans, long time before Cold or Frieza, staging an attack on Planet Plant and the Tuffle race. And when they do, it's almost a slaughter. But the Tuffles still put up a great fight with their weapons, their tech, and everything at their disposal. But nothing seems to be phasing them. But then, they bring out a weapon that is very dangerous, and if used the wrong way, it could destroy their own planet, and it was honestly a forbidden weapon that they almost made by mistake. It is a literal, let's call it the insta-death ray, for sake of simplicity, and this weapon can only be fired once, and if it misses or, shoots in the wrong way, like I just said, it could destroy the planet. This was an accidental weapon. Hey, they're made. So they bring this out and they fire it, but the beam is much larger than they thought it was going to be and much more destructive. This not only kills King Vegeta, but literally every single other Saiyan. That's it. And with that, the Tuffles literally just saved their planet while almost dooming it. Meanwhile, in the main base of the Tuffles, a new genetic mind begins to form and introduce himself. Dr. Mew. And he says, now the age of the Saiyans is done. Let the age of the Tuffles continue to prosper. And this means there's going to be no Goku, no Vegeta, no Nappa, no Raditz, no Gohan, no Goten, no Trunks, no Bardock, no King Vegeta, no Broly, no Paragus, nothing. None of that. We are getting no Saiyans at all. None. So, yeah. Eventually, Cold finds out about Planet Plant, which I think at some point would be renamed to Planet Tuffle, or, or just stick with Planet Plant. It really doesn't matter. All you need to know is Saiyans didn't take it over, Tuffles still live on it. Cold eventually finds out about it, and Dr. Mew comes in person to meet him in the middle of the planet, like the base, or like maybe a bunker, or just some part of the planet that's like remotely, that's where the main like mines are. And Cold sees that these people are far smarter and have way more tech and advanced ability than he has probably ever seen in his many years of living. After all, they were able to kill a race as strong as the Saiyans. And he had even thought about making them work for him and the Cold Empire. But now that he sees that the Tuffles were able to, he hopes to broach a deal with the Tuffle kind if they work for him. And he's sure that they won't refuse, because why would they? He's not looking to destroy their planet or harm them. He merely wishes to test their science and broach a deal that works for both parties. Dr. Mew says we've already had one race try to take and destroy everything we've had. But if this deal you say is to be broached peacefully, then I believe we can work something out, provided that it's actually beneficial to the Tuffle kind. And this means Dr. Mew and Cold shake hands, and the Cold Empire and the Tuffles have officially formed a partnership, with Cold definitely eventually seeing this as a different way, but he was always seemingly the nicer of the Cold family compared to like Frieza, Frost, Cooler, but he was still a Frost tyrant, so it's not like he's doing this just to broach a deal, you know? But he did say that Frieza has a way more bigger temper than him, so it's debatable, but you'll see why it doesn't matter. Dr. Mew in secret, though, knows that this deal cannot last. And he knows that at some point, considering what he could detect and analyze from from King Cold, because Dr. Mew has the analyzation. He's a freaking machine mutant himself. So, of course, he would be able to like maybe see some kind of deception in Cold, or just tell from his posture and who he is that this deal cannot and will not last. Eventually, they'll turn on the Tuffles, and it'll be no different than the Saiyans. So, he begins to work harder than he ever has before, and with the Tuffles all across Planet Plant, this begins a long, thorough bunch of decades into deep research and building. Eventually, the machine mutants are created, all the ones that we saw in GT. And then the Sigma Force is created, and then others like Orin and Kameen, who I'm going to actually canonize here. General Rildo, Lord Lude in the beginning phases, because I'm definitely not going to go as far as saying that, like, he's level 3. You know, Lude's a freaking basically destroyer. But he is a project on the back burner for now as like a secret weapon. Speaking of secret weapons, Baby is created. And as I said, Orin and Kameen are actually put into relegation here. And either they would be banished out, as their little side story said, or they would be used as like two of the main guards for the Tuffle planet. Something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe they still get sent off because of how the Tuffles were. But honestly, who knows? It's Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Giru is also never cast to another planet and gets amnesia, and he actually serves Dr. Mew faithfully. So, yeah, we're basically getting an evil Giru, but this is the last time you're going to see him. But trust me, I have a story or two for Giru. Just know he's part of the Tuffle planet. Legic is also an assassin for the Tuffle planet and is put on a different side of the world to specifically analyze and make sure that he can do his job. Then, another scientific mind comes across Dr. Mew on the planet and says he thinks he can offer a lot more than what Dr. Mew is trying to build, especially if the so-called deal with the Frost Tyrant army comes to a bad hand. And he eventually puts in the research and the build for himself and makes himself the ghost form of Dr. Raichi. And he shows the back burner project that he has been working on ever since the Saiyans attacked Hachiyak. And with this, we get another partnership formed between Dr. Raichi and Dr. Mew. And now they know, with all this that they've been working on, when the day comes and the deal goes south, they'll be ready. And they're going to wish, the Frost Tyrants are going to wish that they had never come across the Tuffle race. Eventually, Cold would return for checkups and more or less seeing how the Tuffles do under his reign. But he wouldn't really check so very often. Cold was very laid back. But eventually, one day, him and a huge fleet of an army, Zarbon, Dodoria, Kui, Ginyu Force, etc., they show up on the planet. And they're not alone. King Cold introduces Frieza, his son, and says that he is retiring, and the Cold clan will now be the Frieza clan, or the Frieza Force. And Frieza introduces himself and the tools that they use called Scouters. And he said that these must very well be a item of interest for the Tuffle race, as he has heard a lot from his father. But he knows that if they step out of line, he's thinking about this while he's on his ship, after everything goes much well, very much so more well than in canon, because the Saiyans actually had guns. And I'm pretty sure the Tuffles would try something similar, because they're stacked to the core, but since they're machine mutants, the Scouters wouldn't be able to pick them up. So I think Frieza would just set this aside and just talk to Mew and like whatever Tuffles would be there. But when he's back on his ship, he begins to think, these scientific minds, maybe they've become too advanced. And even though they're no barbaric monkeys like the Saiyans, someday they could be a problem. But Frieza doesn't think too much on this. He doesn't think about the Super Saiyan or anything ridiculous like that, because they're just a peaceful, Tuffle, scientific genetic race. How bad could they be? Little does he know. Eventually, years later, Beerus introduces himself. And instead of King Vegeta for the whole pillow thing, it's Dr. Mew. And Legic, being an assassin, he rushes at Beerus, but Beerus just instantly Hakkai's him, and Legic is erased. And now, Beerus knows that if an assassin for the scientific race is this out of control, and they possess such tools that this assassin has taken interest or partied with them, this is annoying and too much trouble. And unlike the Saiyans, he doesn't feel like it's the greater problem that it was with the Saiyans, or the fact that he just wants to destroy it. It would be died down to, like, maybe being a threat, just like Frieza was starting to pick up, and just Beerus not wanting to destroy it himself and telling Frieza to. Except Frieza would go less off of, because there's no Super Saiyan, but him and Beerus would agree on one thing: the planet is beginning to see too much scientific prowess and growth that could be a problem. And Frieza just agrees. And soon enough, him and his army make their way to Planet Plant. And when Dr. Mew finds out about this and that the planet is in danger about being blown up by Frieza, he knew the deal would not last. Of course, it had to be an offspring of Cold. So he uses his supercomputer to contact every single Tuffle on the planet. And he tells every single Tuffle all across Planet Plant to get every single weapon, blaster, energy ray, everything, arm every single freaking weapon, and rain fire. Protect the planet at all costs as Frieza begins to charge the supernova. And Dr. Mew points forward and he yells to his Tuffle army, rain fire! And from Planet Plant, millions, millions, and millions and billions of rays, blasts, guns, freaking energy rays, rockets, missiles, death rays, the whole package rain at Frieza's army, and a huge explosion reigns in the middle of space, almost engulfing the planet. And this actually destroys almost all of Frieza's army and forces Frieza to go to his 100% just to stay alive because he was not expecting this at all. And he is furious. So he goes for another death ball, but unfortunately, it only destroys half, or maybe close to half of the planet, because the blast did so much damage and caught Frieza so off guard that he went to 100% just out of spite. Literally skip second, third, fourth, 50%, everything, just to stay alive. And it actually exerted almost all of his energy. So he barely had enough to actually, do this. And only half of the planet is destroyed. Cardinal Muchi Muchi goes to his ultimate form. Lord Lude is awakened at level 3, but Ginyu is alive and swaps bodies with Lude, and nobody expects a thing. The Sigma Force cannon is unleashed, but he is taken out. General Rildo goes to his ultimate form and engulfs the entire planet in metal. But then we get a 3 Frost Tyrant battle. Frieza, King Cold, and Cooler who arrives, because it's literally an explosion that would rock a huge amount of space, and that brings some, especially with this not being the Saiyans, I'm giving Cooler more ado here for about 3 seconds. Because there's one weapon that the Frost Tyrants weren't expecting. The ultimate Tuffle backup plan. Hachiak and Baby are unleashed, and they both merge together into Baby Hachiak, just like Dragon Ball Heroes, and doing completely willingly. And with one single blast, Baby Hachiak wipes out every single Tuffle, Frost Tyrant, and being on the planet. I'm talking Dr. Mew, I'm talking Frieza, Cold, freaking Ginyu and Lude's body, General Rildo, talking freaking everybody. He wipes out everybody because this backup plan, it was far more dangerous than a simple death ray. And it was the end of the Tuffle race. But just the beginning, as Baby Hachiak is not done. He wishes to control more, destroy more, and engulf more. And he flares his aura as Planet Tuffle begins to dissipate, wither away, and be destroyed. And he goes to begin his rampage in the next part. And a very dark future for Universe 7 and all. Hey guys, Nick here. Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and part 2, aka the finale, to the next Dragon Ball story, What If the Tuffles Killed the Saiyans? Before we get started, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and check out the About tab and homepage so you don't miss anything for the Omniverse's future. With all that said, let's begin. So, we open up where we ended off last time. Baby and Hachiyak have merged, and they killed everyone in the vicinity, including their own people, either because there was no one to actually enslave, or just because that's how mad he is. He's not worried about just conquering now, like Baby was. With Hachiyak, it's far more sinister. It's about destruction and conquering. And Planet Tuffle, half destroyed, there's nothing in it for him now. It's why he killed everyone, besides just being an over-chaotic two people merged. But now he's on a rampage. Earth is first. And with no Saiyans, the Red Ribbon Army, especially with the Earthlings being barely anything, the Red Ribbon Army gets... Pilaf would most likely get his wish, and the Red Ribbon Army would start to get up there, and Perfect Cell would be a thing, and he would be basically the only strongest and main threat on that world. Either that, or Baby Hachiyak would exploit the strongest and control Perfect Cell just immediately, and then enslave or kill literally everybody else. So we get mainly Baby Cell. Either maybe others, it just matters is the fact he's destroying and conquering Earth, just like Planet Tuffle. And Cell is the main takeaway from this. Then Planet Namek is next, and it doesn't matter how many try to merge in the moment, it's way too much. Baby and Hachiyak and Baby Cell, far too much. Plus the fact, who knows how many more slaves Baby Hachiyak would, assemble. Then Planet Yardrat is next. Their techniques and vast compatibility, it's not enough. Not nearly. Planet Vampa, that's a cakewalk. The heaters, they are easily dealt with gas being the biggest threat, entirely pointless. Granola, same difference. The Galactic Patrol try to assemble, but the main takeaway from this, and he has to force himself to use his angel powers just to stay ahead, but it literally gets him erased, because angels can't fight. Old Moro is broken out of the seal because of Baby and Hachiyak and all the Tuffles, but he tries to put up more of a fight and steal the powers for himself, so Baby Hachiyak and just everybody else, they just eradicate him. And then Baby Hachiyak reaches a still where he can't easily get out of this. Bobbity and Deborah and the Majins. And Bobbity instantly is able to control Baby Hachiyak, Baby Cell, and anybody else. And whether controlling however many besides these two, or stealing energy from all across the universe, Majin Buu is, I feel, he would be instantly freaking brought back on the fly. Especially with how much Baby Hachiyak was doing, you could definitely see that Majin Buu would be brought back easily. And he turns on his master. And Deborah and Buu and Baby Hachiyak and Baby Cell, they all form a partnership, but Deborah, seeing as Boo is far too playful and far too much of a nuisance, grabs the third eye, and they all conquer the demon realm. But when push comes to shove that they're going to get rid of Boo, Boo gets angry and turns into Super Boo after Evil Boo is exposed from him. But he is instantly eradicated by the Tuffles and Deborah with the third eye. Mainly Baby Hatchiyak leading the surge. And with this overwhelming power, Baby Hatchiyak and Deborah with the third eye, it's very much, along with Baby Cell, a monstrous and terrifying team up. But eventually, the conquering and everything getting to Baby and Hatchiak's head, it's beginning to overwhelm them. And Baby's mind inside of Cell, it's beginning to make him crave more. So, eventually, it leads to something. It leads to something absolutely freaking terrifying. Like, to the core. Traumatizing, terrifying, absolute madness. Every single word that you could think of. That's what this is about. You're about to see. Baby merges himself with not only Hatchiyak, not only Cell and that baby version of him, but Third Eye Deborah. And here we get probably the most monstrous fusion and assemblization in the history of Dragon Ball ever. With Baby Hatchiyak, Third Eye Deborah, and Baby Cell all fused, we have Baborayak, the ultimate terrifying assemblization of science, third eye overpowered bullcrap, the Demon King, the ultimate android, and the strongest of the Tuffle race. Like I said, this is the most terrifying and probably most people that has ever been fused together, and I think one of the best, if not the best, fusion designs that I myself probably have ever made, and in the history of Dragon Ball. And with this, it's no question that whatever Baborayak has not conquered, he just takes over all of Universe 7, enslaving and destroying everything. And Shin meets the fate as well. And this kills off Beerus, which also makes Whis inactive. And I'm going to be straight with you right now, and I bet all of you could probably testify to this. Because of the third eye, because of Deborah, because of Baby, because of Hatchiyak, if Beerus and Baborayak were to have fought, and I nearly wrote this, it literally would have taken Ultra Instinct 100% Beerus to take him down. And even then, it's way too strong a fusion that it would be that close to Beerus's full power that he would have to go. It would literally take Beerus every single scrap of Hakai energy, God of Destruction energy, and much more utilization of Ultra Instinct to even come close to this terrifying assemblization fusion. But since I forgot about the Supreme Kai planet, we don't get that fight. So I basically just figured I would answer that question for you. So yeah, the Great Priest detects this and that Whis has become inactive and the Seventh Universe's God of Destruction and Kai are gone. And once Zeno gets so unbelievably bored with no other universes making progress and the Seventh doomed for utter annihilation and just plague, he erases it. But not only that, but he erases all 12 universes. Now, there's a reason for that, and it's very obvious, but because of Baborayak's literal abominational plaguing, this would have spread to all 12 universes at some point or another. Especially finding out about the Super Dragon Balls. Imagine, he could literally control all 12 universes. But Great Priest and Zeno figuring out about Whis and Beerus, this means that the Great Priest and Zeno are going to act. And this not only makes them erase Universe 7, but erase all 12 just because of the danger that this would present. And that if Universe 7 spawned this, they can never trust all 12 universes. This is way too disastrous. And with this, all 12 universes, including Baboriak, are erased. Just going to show that the Tuffles living instead of the Saiyans would have been the worst thing you could have imagined. And that says a lot coming from what we saw as a peaceful. So, in closing, the Tuffles would be far more disastrous than how the Saiyans were. In the end, proving with Dragon Ball GT and Hachiak's story that the Tuffles were one of the biggest hypocrites of them all, turning into the exact thing that drove them extinct. In the end, causing their own destruction by the one and only Grand Zeno. And I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed Baby Hachiak, Baby Cell, and Third Eye Deborah. I could have kept Majin Buu in the mix, but I feel that because of Evil Buu, he would have tried to usurp them, causing Baby to hold the helm along with Hachiak and everything like that. And Deborah would have been around and actually teamed with them. So, overall, I feel that this direction, it would have led to Frieza more or less wanting to destroy them. Beerus not destroying them, like, because of how they would be, but because of their impudence, and more or less just because. And I feel like that's another reason why he wanted the Saiyans destroyed, just because, so that he didn't have to do it. So that would almost be the same here for the Tuffles. But even if you throw Cooler and King Cold in the mix, because of the Tuffles actually staying around and advancing their technology, that means that you would be overpowering them to the T. Hachiak, the mutants, everything. True, Ginyu swapping with Lude ultimately would have meant that the Frieza Force maybe would have won in the end. But once you throw Baby and Hachiak in the mix, no amount of body swapping could save you from literally one of the toughest creations in all of history. And he wouldn't have stopped there. Going past the creations of a mere Tuffle, he would have gone to planet. Earth and the Red Ribbon Army would have been a great opportunity for the Tuffles to expand their horizon even further, controlling and producing even more of a Tuffleized army across the entire 7th universe. That's why I included Baby Cell. And the reason I included Deborah as a partner is because with the Third Eye and something to go for, I can see them forming a partnership. But the more control and absorption, just like Majin Buu, it would have overtaken Baby and Hachiak. And eventually, that level of control, it would have just became too much for him. Which is why, eventually, Baby Hachiak would merge with Cell and Deborah and become literally the strongest entity, possibly even surpassing Jiren. I'm not even lying. When you combine Baby, Hachiak, Cell, and Third Eye Deborah, mind you, that's why it took Beerus full power and Ultra Instinct. If you had the two fight. But unfortunately, that would not happen because the Supreme Kai's world would be in danger too. So let's just say that Beerus had an opportunity to fight or Mirus or something. You literally have the strongest entity in probably all the 12 universes. But God of Destruction and Angels are another thing, you know? But Beerus, it would have taken him full power and Ultra Instinct to even think of stopping this entity. And with an entire 7th universe controlled with the Tuffleization, the Tuffles would have just became the very thing that they became extinct fighting. The Saiyans. And it's ironic when you look at how Frieza became and now is in his Black Frieza form. He has literally become just like the Saiyans that he was trying to destroy. Showing sometimes when you think that you're doing the right thing by fighting a war or trying to stop or rid a species or a person, one day or immediately, you might just become just like them. And this story was the full front and example that no matter what, the Tuffles ended up becoming just like the Saiyans. And that was proven to a full front and center with Baby and Hachiak and Cell, all of those egos, including Third Eye Deborah. You just have a literal embodiment of chaos, destruction, and control. Making every threat in Super, GT, and Z almost look like jokes. So, yeah. The 7th universe, because of the Tuffles surviving instead of the Saiyans, would have been absolutely screwed, and he would have screwed over. The Tuffles also not only screwed their own universe and their planet and their just overall existence, but they screwed all 12 universes. Because Zeno and Grand Priest would have seen this and deemed all the other universes not only in danger, but not worth keeping around. Screw the Tournament of Power, future timeline. It's just, without any Saiyans or anything memorable and just pure chaos in the 7th universe, what would be the use of even looking into other universes, be it twin or not? You would have literally doomed all 12 universes to their literal destruction and erasure. So in the end, the Tuffles being around instead of the Saiyans screwed themselves and screwed existence. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this Tuffle story. This is one of the shorter stories that I have done on this channel, besides the Bardock Super Saiyan one, which, by the way, definitely check out if you haven't. I'm surprised that that one hasn't got more attention. It's one of the literal most asks and most requested and done things on all Dragon Ball media. So I suggest that you guys check that out if you haven't. And I really hope you guys liked the design for the fusion, because I really enjoyed making that design. But with all of that said, this is one of the shorter ones, and it's just based on the fact that because you left the Tuffles alive, you just gave them all the more willpower to expand their ever-growing Tuffleization and control and overbearing. Just at that point, you doomed the 7th universe. And we thought the Saiyans were bad news. There is a world, like in the 6th universe, where the Tuffles could have been forever good, and nothing would have happened. When you throw the Frost Tyrants in the mix, though, and all the lore you know about the Tuffles, you're just giving all the fuel and firepower to literally set them up for their own failure. And the Saiyans were lucky to not go completely extinct. Literally. And with that said, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this Tuffle story. Let me know how you think the Tuffles would have done, and how you think this iteration of it was overall covered. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the 4th Thunder episode, and onwards for more from the Omniverse.